My name is Eric Pollard. I'm a senior fellow at Media Matters for America. And we wanted to host a discussion today, a very, very timely discussion about extremism, and particularly the right-wing rhetoric we've been hearing, particularly since the Obama inauguration.
And that back in the 90s, we didn't see this kind of very specific name-calling, very specific intimidation, harassment, language, and kind of building a culture. It really is a culture of acceptance around that.
Forget how stupid Beck is for a second. There's plenty of time to talk about that. There's a new book coming out in, I believe, early June or late May.
Hey, Carl, is there some chance that Glenn Beck is so stupid that he never heard of what Stalin and Mao did, and so when he discovered it for the first time because of his own ignorance, that he thought it was part of a plan to hide it from him?
There's a good chance that he was reading a book and saw a name he did not recognize. That's Glenn Beck's circular logic. It's called the Becko chamber for a reason. And now that Sarah Palin has joined the network, it really is stupid in stereo. But he is an interesting, bizarre, remarkably unintelligent individual.
Overall, what the law center is concerned about is we don't want to see the conservative media saying things like calling Obama a fascist or a socialist or a communist, all three of which I think Glenn Beck has used against him.
It just goes to show you, how infectious this kind of, incendiary rhetoric can be, because people all over the country are talking like this, and they're calling, it's now okay to call the president a Nazi.
Here at Ring of Fire, we've been covering the crazy antics of Glenn Beck. I mean, the thing that always strikes me is that he's really it's the same thing like that the Nazis did during the war. Everybody thought that, before in the 1920s, everybody thought that they were crazy and that they were, they were talking about all this bizarre stuff, and people laughed them away. But he actually has a following now.
Yeah, and these kinds of movements, and they really are fringe movements. They sprout up in American history time and again. The Capitol Mall was literally littered with nuts, with signs saying, this time I didn't bring my gun, so what does that mean you're going to do next time? Signs comparing Obama to Nazis.
Even when you consider what has been a barrage of, mistruths and code words of hate.
The extreme right and many in the media have built the culture in the tone of a debate. I don't mind a good debate. I'll debate. But when you start calling names, when you harass, when you intimidate, when you impose violence, that's when I think this country is on the wrong track.
But for Glenn Beck to talk about somebody else being the dumbest man on television?
Well, for Glenn Beck talking about anybody else being stupid, I think is really shocking.
I do think it's about money. I think it's about co-opting something that's so precious to America. And I think what Glenn Beck is doing is unpatriotic, and he should be ashamed.
I couldn't agree more. Malia Lazou, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
There will be two sides, and both sides will be fervently arguing their position. But we should change the tone. We should not call each other names or caricatures.
There's just an enormous amount of misinformation being pushed out on Fox, and especially by Glenn Beck. I think he's becoming one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous, conservative media personalities in this country.
Now, I have to ask you this. When I look at Glenn Beck, right, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he's borderline nuts. I think he's about ready to crack. It looks to me like, because he breaks down crying all the time. What is it?
I think you're putting it generously. I've been saying for the last couple of months around the office that I think he's going to have a breakdown within the year. You just kind of see it headed in that direction.
And now he's just talking about killing people. It is crazy and it's insane.